else not to call it.
What? Well, this is heaven. I'll get there though.
Don't worry about that. Come on. Hey, so how did we hear about this place? Steve. Who?
You know, the foreign exchange student from computer class?
No, I don't.
Yeah, he told us about it, so we just decided to come check it out for ourselves. And let me tell you, it's the real deal.
All right.
JC.
Oh, man. How's your mother? She's good?
Yes, sir.
Come on in. All right. Okay, I'm gonna need to see your ID.
Well, you didn't check any of my friends.
Yeah, see, I know them, and they know me, but I don't know you, so ID.
Mark, let's go, man.
Yeah. Step aside.
Yes. Watch out for the dangerous.
Okay, well, come on. Just you letting them in. Let me in.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah, you're the bouncer.
Yeah, and that means you gotta go through me to get up there.
Look, I'm a good guy. My friends can vouch for me.
I have to vouch for you.
What does that even mean? You don't even know me.
It's your call.
What call? Yeah? No, I'm still out here. Is there like a back door? Is there a back door? Hello? I can't. What do you know about that place?
That place is the last place you want to be.
Looks a lot of people there. Can't be that bad.
It's not the party that you think. Besides, I hear the AC is broken.
Welcome to Engage Online. I'm so excited to continue our series called Go, where we take a look at a few times Jesus said go, and tonight we're looking at the phrase go and sin no more. Last week we looked at Jesus' story about the Good Samaritan from Luke chapter 10, and I challenged you to go and do likewise. This week we're going to read through a passage written by John, one of Jesus' closest followers. Have you ever had a sibling, or maybe you've been that sibling that you've ever tried to intentionally get another sibling in trouble with your parents? You know, I remember growing up with my older brothers. Well, I was the youngest, so they were all older than me. But being the youngest, I have to admit, there were times that if they weren't treating me right or picking on me, I would intentionally get them in trouble with my parents. In this passage, we're going to read about Jesus. The crowd of people are doing the exact same thing as I did. In fact, as we look at this passage, there are three main people. There is the crowd who is out for blood, the woman who is standing in shame, and Jesus. I think whether you have been following Jesus for a while now, or if you're just checking things out, we need to be reminded of this passage and of the message Jesus brings daily. Us, at some point in our lives, will be the crowd out for blood or the woman standing in shame. We are not Jesus, but we turn to him. Let's take a look at this passage found in John chapter 8. It says, Jesus returned to the Mount of Olives, but early the next morning he was back again at the temple. A crowd soon gathered, and he sat down and taught them. As he was speaking, the teachers of the religious laws and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. They put her in front of the crowd. Teacher, they said to Jesus, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say? They were trying to trap him into saying something they could use against him. But Jesus stooped down and wrote in the dust with his finger. They kept demanding an answer. So he stood up and again he said, all right, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone. Then he stooped down again and wrote in the dust. When the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, until Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with the woman. Then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, where are your accusers? Didn't any one of them condemn you? No, Lord, she said. And Jesus said, neither do I. Go and sin no more. The Pharisees who caught the woman in adultery knew that everyone sins, but they wanted to highlight this woman's sin for all to see so that they did not look as bad. Now, if we are honest, We do this all the time. We undermine other people so that we look better. We think we are better than other people. We sometimes look down on people who aren't Christians. It goes on like this. Teacher, they said to Jesus, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say? Before you freak out, let me explain. They weren't getting stoned. They were going to stone her, which means they were about to pick up rocks and pelt her until she died. Rough crowd back in the day, right? You didn't finish your homework? You're going to die. Here's the clearest way I can put it. Sin is anything that separates us from God in actions or thoughts. Anything that does not glorify Jesus is considered sin. And according to God's standards, we fall short. Romans 3:23 tells us, for the wages of sin is death. Death. So it basically goes like this. Have you ever lusted after a woman? You deserve to die. Cheated on the test? Death. Cheated on your husband? You're out of here. Disrespected your parents? Time to end it. Here's the big picture principle. Jesus taught here, and it's repeated throughout the Bible. Sin carries the penalty of death. Sometimes we're all like the crowd, aren't we? We want to throw someone else under the bus for something they did so we don't look as bad in comparison. No, I might not have done this, but did you see that person? I'm not nearly as messed up as them. I know I get a little crazy, but I'm not as out of control as them. I might tell secrets, but I'm not an out in the open gossip like she is. I might get drunk on the weekends, but that person right there gets both drunk and high. They are much worse. We are the crowd. We sit in judgment of others so we do not have to deal with the mess in our lives, don't we? We are that crowd. Sometimes we want to point out the stuff in others' lives, not to help them, but to show that we are not as messed up as they are. We want to throw stones at them because look at them, not me. The crowd had one thing right. They knew that according to the law, this woman needed to die. It's the same with us. But here's the good news. We have been pardoned. We don't use the word pardon too much these days. What it simply means is that we have been forgiven. We've been shown grace when we didn't deserve it. Grace is unmerited divine forgiveness. This means we don't deserve forgiveness, but God gives it anyway. All of us at some time are this woman in the story. We are the ones who are being dragged out into the middle of everything and everyone because we have been dealing with some sort of struggle and someone found out about it. Others have pulled out our sin from behind the shadows, and now they are pushing it back into our faces. When people call me out on my sin, my first thought is, oh my gosh, I know, I messed up. I get it. Step off me. I'm sure the woman knew that she had messed up at that point, and she stood there naked in front of the crowd who wanted to kill her. I want you to ask yourself, have you ever messed up and knew it? Whether it was public or maybe just in your head. Has anyone been really mad at you for something you did wrong, but they showed you grace and forgiveness even though you knew you didn't deserve it? As good as that feeling is, it's nothing compared to the grace and forgiveness that God shows us on a daily basis when we realize that we need His grace in our lives. In Ephesians chapter 1, verses 7 and 8, it says, in Him we have redemption through His blood, the forgiveness of sins in accordance to the riches of God's grace that He lavished on us with all wisdom and understanding. So I love this word lavish, which means extravagant, elegant, over the top. Now, when the Bible is talking about forgiveness, it's saying that God's grace in forgiveness is lavished. Like way too much, like ridiculous amount. It's over the top. It's out of control. You have no sin in past, present, and future that has more power than the cross of Jesus Christ. None. He is lavishing His grace upon you. He is lavishing His grace upon your past. He is lavishing His forgiveness all over your regrets. It means it doesn't matter how messed up you are at this moment. It means God can still rescue you and still save you. And it means for those of you who are in Christ, you do not disgust him. You might be thinking, well, you don't know what I've been struggling with and how sick it is. I know that Jesus would say that he has pardoned you, and so that what you are saying is nonsense. That is grace, which he has lavished on us in his forgiveness. The second thing, accept Jesus' forgiveness. When we look at this story, Jesus says something that I think sums up entirety of what he's talking about. The accusers, the crowd, walked away one by one until it was only Jesus and the woman. Then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, "Where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you?" "No, Lord," she said. And Jesus said, "Neither do I. Go and sin no more." First, Jesus says that he doesn't condemn the woman. It's the grace and forgiveness that I've been talking about. Then secondly, Jesus said, "Go and sin no more." Here, Jesus was not speaking about sinless perfection. He was not telling the woman to go and live a sinless life from that point on. That's impossible. Instead, he was warning her against returning to the sinful lifestyle choices. His words both extended mercy and demanded holiness. Jesus was always the perfect balance of grace and truth. With forgiveness comes the expectation that we will not continue in the same path of rebelliousness. Those who know God's love will naturally want to obey him. So once you've done that, how do you stay on the right path? I'm going to give you 3 ways to stay on God's path. The first one is know the consequences. Staying on God's path is not about being perfect, but it's about weighing your decision of whether to sin or not. When we say yes to sin, we are saying no to God. When we are saying yes to God, it means we are saying no to sin. Choosing sin has consequences. The sinful choice I have made in my past have consequences that I continue to deal with. You can't undo consequences. They don't disappear. People may remind you of them down the road, but that's the great part of the lavishing grace of God. When we accept his forgiveness daily, he looks at you like you have gone and sinned no more. The second thing is get in a small group. You need a mentor. You need a group of people around you helping you keep grounded. It's not about being perfect, but it's surrounding yourself with others who also want to go and sin no more. It's a game changer. It was for my life, so I challenge you to participate in when we have small groups and get a small group outside church. The third thing is become a doer. It's not about being perfect, but it is about actually taking what you hear here on Wednesdays and Friday nights and actually start to apply it to your life. And here's my one last thought to you. Jesus said, "Go and sin no more." Students, I hope and pray today that this word opens your heart up to realize that you can live a life that goes beyond sin, that you can live a life that Jesus would want to use you for the purposes of God. All of us fail, and that's why we love his lavishing grace as it's poured out upon us. But as Jesus said to this woman, I say to you, whatever you're dealing with, God's grace will cover it. But Jesus is saying to you, go and sin no more. You know, I hope you have a great I hope you had a great Christmas. I hope you have a great rest of this week. We are not having the gathering this Friday night on the 1st because of being a holiday, but we will be back together January 8th at the gathering on Friday nights at 7. Hopefully all of you can be there as we're going to begin to start a great new year and the great things that God has for us. Join us next Wednesday as we continue part 3 of our Go series. We'll see you then. God bless you.